Of all the tropes that exist throughout novels and film, the evil stepmother is by far and away one of the most common. After the untimely loss of a beloved wife and mother, a father and daughter are left devastated. However, a mysterious woman soon appears, captivating the attention and the heart of the father. After a whirlwind and brief romance, the father marries this woman. However, the daughter sees through her new stepmother's manipulations to her nefarious true intentions, fully aware that this woman does not love her father, or her for that matter, that this woman is instead in love with power and money, and to her, this supersedes love. But how would you handle this? Would you go to your father in the hopes that he will come to his senses? Would you attempt to bridge the gap and talk to her in the hopes that you could build a relationship? Or would you murder them both? Hey kids, welcome home. For our paranormal pit stop this evening, we're going to go all the way back to 1860s Massachusetts and a small town by the name of Fall River. And who are we going to visit? Well, you all know the rhyme. Lisbeth Lizzie Andrew Borden was born on July 19th in 1860 to mother Sarah Anthony Morse and father Andrew Jackson Borden. Lizzie's father, according to Wikipedia, was of English and Welsh descent and grew up in very modest surroundings and struggled financially as a young man, despite being the descendant of wealthy and influential local residents. He eventually prospered in the manufacture and sale of furniture and caskets, then became a successful property developer. He was the director of several textile mills and owned considerable commercial property. He was also president of the Union Savings Bank and a director of the Durfee Safe Deposit and Trust Company. Due to his humble beginning, Andrew was very frugal in his adult life, so much so that, even though it was a common accommodation for the wealthy at the time, the Borden home lacked indoor plumbing. There is not much known about the early days in the life of Lizzie and her older sister Emma Lenora Borden. They were raised in a relatively religious household, attending the local Central Congregational Church. As a young woman, Lizzie was quite active in the church and would be involved in many of the church's activities, even teaching Sunday school, and she was also involved in Christian organizations such as the Christian Endeavor Society, in which she acted as both secretary and treasurer. She participated in many social movements, including the WCTU, the Women's Christian Temperance Union, and was a member of the Ladies' Fruit and Flower Mission. Life was fairly cut and dry for Lizzie, and was dizzyingly normal, up until the passing of her mother in 1863. Just 3 short years after her passing, Andrew would find a new wife in Abby Durfee Gray, later Borden. Lizzie, however, was not as enamored with Abby as her father, referring to her as Mrs. Borden and refusing to call her mother or even Abby. When asked if she got along with her stepmother, Lizzie would demur from the subject, refusing to acknowledge if they were even cordial to one another. It was no secret, however, that Lizzie was of the opinion that Abby had married Andrew not out of love, but more out of love for his wealth. Bridget Sullivan, the 25-year-old live-in maid of the Bordens, lovingly referred to by the family as Maggie, would testify to the fact that Lizzie and Emma rarely ate meals with their parents. Tensions were high, and it all came to a tragic and brutal end on August 4th of 1892. The details of the events of that evening, as reported by Wikipedia, state John Morse arrived in the evening of August 3rd and slept in the guest room that night. After breakfast the next morning, at which Andrew, Abby, Lizzie, Morse, and the Borden's maid, Bridget Maggie Sullivan, were present, Andrew and Morse went to the sitting room where they chatted for nearly an hour. Morse left around 8:48 a.m. to buy a pair of oxen and visit his niece in Fall River, planning to return to the Borden home for lunch at noon. Andrew left for his walk sometime after 9 a.m. Although the cleaning of the guest room was one of Lizzie's and Emma's regular chores, Abby went upstairs sometime between 9 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. to make the bed. According to the forensic investigation, Abby was facing her killer at the time of the attack. She was first struck on the side of the head with a hatchet, which cut her just above the ear, causing her to turn and fall face down on the floor, creating contusions on her nose and forehead. Her killer then struck her multiple times, delivering 17 more direct hits to the back of her head, killing her. Sullivan testified that she was in her third-floor room, resting from cleaning windows, when just before 11:10 a.m., she heard Lizzie call from downstairs.
Somebody's killed Father!
Andrew was slumped on a couch in the downstairs sitting room, struck 10 or 11 times with a hatchet-like weapon. One of his eyeballs had been split cleanly in two, suggesting that he had been asleep when attacked. His still bleeding wounds suggested a very recent attack. Dr. Bowen, the family's physician, arrived from his home across the street to determine that both victims had died. Detectives estimated his death had occurred at approximately 11 o'clock a.m. Most of the officers who questioned Lizzie would later recount to disliking her attitude, finding her far too calm and poised considering the circumstances and how brutal the attacks were, and that her knowledge of what occurred seemed to be strange and quite contradictory. However, despite the suspicious behavior and her attitude, paired with her ever-changing alibi, for some reason, officers found no reason to check Lizzie for bloodstains, and never went further than a cursory glance of her room. This would be scrutinized quite heavily at the trial, and police would be forced to admit that they had not conducted a proper search, as Borden was, quote, not feeling well. An initial inquest hearing would be held on August 8th. Lizzie's request to have her family attorney present would be denied due to a state statute requiring that inquests be held in private. The private nature of the inquest would end up working in Lizzie's benefit, as it was reported that her behavior during her testimony was quite erratic. Lizzie often refused to answer questions, regardless of whether the answer would be deemed beneficial to her case or not. On August 11th, Lizzie would be served with a warrant of arrest and was jailed. A grand jury began hearing evidence on November 7th, and the district attorney, who was quite the barracuda, he aggressively and confrontationally approached his questioning, which did lead to Lizzie being indicted on December 2nd. The trial of Lizzie Borden would commence on June 5th of 1893 in New Bedford, Massachusetts, during which it was determined that the inquest testimony would be inadmissible in the trial. A prominent point of discussion in the trial, or press coverage of it, was the hatchet head found in the basement, which was not convincingly demonstrated by the prosecution to be the murder weapon. Prosecutors argued that a killer had removed the handle because it would have been covered in blood. One officer testified that a hatchet handle was found near the hatchet head, but another officer contradicted this. Though no bloody clothing was found at the scene, Russell testified that on August 8, 1892, she had witnessed Lizzie Borden burn a dress in the kitchen stove saying it had been ruined when she brushed against wet paint. During the course of the trial, defense never attempted to challenge this statement. Lizzie Borden's presence at the home was also a point of dispute during the trial. According to testimony, Sullivan entered the second floor of the home at around 10:58 a.m. and left Lizzie and her father downstairs. Lizzie told several people that at this time she went into the barn and was not in the house for 20 minutes or possibly half an hour. Hyman Lubinsky testified for the defense that he saw Lizzie Borden leaving the barn at 11:03 a.m., and Charles Gardner confirmed the time. At 11:10 a.m., Lizzie called Sullivan downstairs, told her Andrew had been murdered, and ordered her not to enter the room. Instead, Borden sent her to get a doctor. Both victims' heads had been removed during autopsy, and the skulls were admitted as evidence during the trial and presented on June 5th. Upon seeing them in the courtroom, Borden fainted. Evidence was excluded that Borden had sought to purchase prussic acid purposely for cleaning a sealskin cloak from a local druggist on the day before the murders. The judge ruled that the incident was too remote in time to have any connection. The presiding Associate Justice, Justin Dewey, delivered a lengthy summary that supported the defense as his charge to the jury before it was sent to deliberate on June 20th. After an hour and a half of deliberation, the jury acquitted Borden of the murders. Upon exiting the courthouse, she told reporters that she was, quote, the happiest woman in the world. Despite being acquitted of both murders, Lizzie found herself ostracized by the residents of Fall River. The rumors and speculation as to did she or didn't she would follow her the rest of her life. In 1927, Lizzie would have her gallbladder removed, and while the surgery was deemed a success, she remained ill for the remaining months of her life, thereafter passing away due to pneumonia on June 1st of 1927, at the age of 67. It is reported that at the time of her death, Lizzie was worth a total of $250,000, which in 2019 would have been the equivalent of $4,938,000. The question of whether or not Lizzie actually committed these murders may never be answered. However, it is widely believed that she was, in fact, guilty. And as such, people love to theorize as to why she would murder both her father and stepmother. What would her motives have been? There are a few theories that have been the topic of much debate over the years. The first theory being that Lizzie was being physically and sexually abused by her father, and it was this that enraged her and led to the brutal murder of her father. Although there's no evidence to support the claims, incest was not just a taboo subject at the time. It was, in fact, not something that was discussed at all. There would further have been no way scientifically to collect physical evidence in the hopes of proving such claims. The second theory revolves around that aforementioned trope that Lizzie was upset about her father's marriage to Abby, and that she saw Abby as nothing more than a gold digger. In this scenario, Lizzie discusses her concerns with her father, hoping to make him see reason. Andrew was spending the equivalent of hundreds of thousands of dollars by today's standards to support not just Abby, but her family. How could he not see what Abby was doing? But Andrew was in love, believing Abby to be exactly what he'd been looking for, and refused to see it any other way. At this, Lizzie ran from the house, out to the shed, and in a fit of rage, grabbed the hatchet and, well, and. After seeing what she had done to her father and realizing that she had directed her anger at the wrong person, she then climbed the stairs and finished the job of taking 2 lives. However, the third theory is one that is most widely believed to be what actually occurred, and it even comes with a confession. In this instance, a long-standing lesbian tryst between Lizzie and the trusted Borden maid Maggie was discovered by Abby. On the day of the murders, it is stated that Abby walked in on the pair together, locked in an embrace, and that she reacted with disgust. After pleading with Abby to understand her feelings for Maggie, Lizzie killed Abby by reportedly smashing her on the head repeatedly with the hatchet. When Andrew returned home, Lizzie confessed to her father as to what she had done and her feelings for Maggie. Her father did not respond as favorably as she would have hoped to her admissions of love for Maggie, and it was for this reason that she became enraged and murdered her father with the hatchet. In an effort to protect Lizzie, Maggie's reported to have disposed of the hatchet. In the subsequent years, rumors of Lizzie's sexual orientation would continue. However, Maggie somehow managed to avoid such speculation and was able to successfully find other employment and live out a fairly normal and innocuous life after a time in the Borden employ. Sullivan would even marry a man that she had met while working as a maid in Butte, Montana. She would live out the remaining years of her life in Butte, passing away in 1948. It is alleged that on her deathbed, Maggie did confess to her relationship with Lizzie and that she had changed her testimony on the stand in order to protect Lizzie. But, as you all know, this is the haunted United States, and we wouldn't be stopping in for a visit if there weren't rumors of paranormal happenings. So, let's dive into the present-day Borden residence and discuss the more spooky side of this already chilling tale. In 1995, the Borden residence was converted into the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast Museum, boasting tours that delve into the history of the property and, of course, the crimes and trial of Lizzie Borden. And with such violent events taking place, it's no surprise that reports of eerie events started to run rampant, and that rumors would abound that maybe the Bordens had never left. Mikey of one of my favorite YouTube channels, Glam and Gore, conducted an investigation and was able to capture EVP activity that suggests that the guilty party may in fact have been a duo. However, instead of being Lizzie and Maggie, that it was Lizzie and John. And the spirits want to make sure that you're aware of John's involvement. Is it possible that Uncle John, brother of the Borden girl's birth mother Sarah, conspired with Lizzie and potentially even as a trio, Lizzie and Maggie and John, and maybe he was the one who actually wielded the hatchet?
Abby, was it John who killed you?
That one gave me the chills. I don't know why.
Abby, did John Morse kill you?
She was the biggest threat.
She was the biggest threat?
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
we
what I
have
heard
John.
too.
Abby, did John kill you?
This is like God.
What did you hear?
It was John.
Did it say it was John?
Yes.
Oh, it
Can you
didn't.
play it?
Did John kill you, right? I'm gonna increase the gain so that we can hear it better. Okay?
This is like God.
What did it say? What did it say?
It said it was John.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
This is like God.
Hold on. I'm gonna increase the volume again.
This is like God. This is like God.
Clear as day.
And that is a scary voice.
What?
This is like God.
No, stop it. I hate it.
This is like God. This is like God.
Play the question before it.
I literally go. Abby, did John kill you?
This is like God.
Come on.
No.
If you were to ask paranormal investigator and YouTuber John Huntington, he would tell you that he has clear proof that Lizzie has not moved on from her former homestead. He was further able to obtain proof that no matter how many individuals conspired in the death of Andrew and Abby Borden, Lizzie was most certainly involved.
Can you tell us who did it? Who committed the murders once and for all? Borden.
Does that mean a Borden killed a Borden?
Yeah.
Did Lizzie kill her father and her stepmother?
Yo!
Oh my god!
Yo! That was a great, crazy bit.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we confirmed it twice.
Alright.
We can pack up now.
That's 2 times we got it.
Video's over.
Done.
You say Lizzie for us one last time. We won't ask you again.
I heard 2. I heard 2.
Come on.
We may never know with any degree of certainty what really transpired that night, or who the guilty person or people are. But one thing is for sure. They got away with murder. And it's up to you what you find more horrifying. That a young girl is capable of committing such atrocities against her own father and stepmother, which seemed so shocking at the time that the jury seems not to have even considered the possibility of her guilt. Or that a murderer walked among the people of Fall River undetected and facing no consequences, right under their noses. I hope you all enjoyed tonight's installment of Haunted United States. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Lizzie was guilty? If so, did she act alone? Was this a crime of passion committed in partnership between Lizzie and Maggie? Was John the pawn? Or the mastermind? Please, give this video a like. It's been a huge undertaking to deep dive into these locations, and I'm having the time of my life. And I hope you're enjoying this as well. And if you are enjoying these tales, I hope that I've earned your subscription today, and that you're willing to be a part of the Press Start family. It seems a simple thing to ask. Sorry, couldn't help myself. All my social media will be linked in the description below, including my Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. And I thank you all for your endless support and encouragement. And, as you all know, we support those who support us. And I have to give a shout out to the most recent subscriber to the Press Start Mom channel. It's Tessa, is a Twitch streamer with such a bubbly and sweet personality that you can't help but smile when you watch her. I'll have a link to her Twitch below. Please, go consider following her and telling her that Press Start Mom sent ya. Thank you, Tessa, for your kindness and your quality content. I will also link the channels for Glam and Gore and for John as well, so please head over to their channels and give them a subscription as well. Also, stay tuned for some bonus content coming soon, starring the amazing RB and Frankie Mermaid. Until next time, take care of yourselves. I love you all, and good night.